Welcome. My name is Steve Wall, and I will be discussing PTC's component and supplier management solution. In today's session, you will hear how you can benefit from a reduction in your product and supply chain complexity. This can be achieved by driving your engineering, sourcing, quality, manufacturing, and service organizations toward a standard and rationalized set of preferred parts and suppliers. By doing this, you can reduce your part spend and inventory levels and increase your engineering productivity. The challenge many companies face is that many times during part selection, standard reusable parts are either hard to find or not available. It is likely a designer or engineer will create a new part that quite possibly already exists. This leads to high carrying costs for each redundant or duplicate part that is created. As organizations acquire other companies, they are likely faced with managing a whole new set of component data that may contain many duplicates of what is already under lifecycle management. Furthermore, it is typical that engineering has no visibility to preferred sources of supply, leading to more inefficiencies. Leaving these challenges unresolved can lead to the following undesirable business outcomes: an increasing level of product and supply chain complexity, suboptimized direct material spend, increased product lifecycle costs, excessive inventory cost and reduced inventory turns, and an inability to deliver product variability with scale, which will lead to higher cost and reduced margins. PTC recommends several component and supplier management best practices. 1. Create a rationalized set of classified parts for reuse across the enterprise. 2. Capture supplier and supplier part information. 3. Use AML and AVL, approved manufacturer and vendor lists. Finally, number 4, utilize a new part introduction process. After implementation of these best practices, your enterprise can reduce your supply chain and product complexity, reduce your inventory and achieve faster turns, optimize your spend with preferred suppliers, achieved cost savings by identifying and eliminating duplicate redundant parts. Your sourcing and product development teams will now be in sync. Here is an example of a PTC customer that benefits from our component and supplier management solution. Weatherford provides solutions, applications, and services for the oil and gas industry. Through classification of all their part data, Weatherford has been able to reduce their overall part count by 12%, and everyone is now on the same page internally and throughout the supply chain. The product lifecycle management system I'll be utilizing today contains an overloaded bill of materials with variants as shown. This product line contains numerous standard parts and supplier parts, and common subassemblies such as brakes, engines, wheels, computers, bearings, etc. Throughout the demonstration, you will see the value that members of the enterprise can derive by easily finding sourced, fully qualified parts to reduce design cycle time. Searching and finding the right parts is a critical aspect of product development. There are many ways to search within PDM-Link. I can reuse a saved search or configure the advanced search page to find the right kind of objects that have specific criteria. The component and supplier management solution provides users with a virtual catalog that assists in finding classified or categorized parts. Watch as I visually browse the contents of this catalog. There are vehicle components to choose from, shock absorbers, hoses, fittings, and a variety of bearings. There are commonly used electrical components, such as capacitors and sensors, crystals, and oscillators. There are also a number of mechanical fasteners as well: nuts, bolts, washers, and retaining rings. Later, I will discuss how this catalog is created and how groups of attributes are applied to a family of similar parts. Now let's assume the role of a designer looking for a specific component. I can bring my search use case to the catalog. In this case, I need a 3/8" hex head bolt that is about 1 inch in length. I visually browse to the correct page in the catalog and now can search through over 600 hex head bolts. The characteristics that are common within this group of parts is presented on the left, and I can start entering my criteria to filter the candidate set down to a manageable set of choices. Entering in a few values into these search facets, and I have 6 bolts to choose from. Focusing now on the search results table, visual CAD model information of each bolt is available to assist in my final choice. I can also review and compare other information such as version, lifecycle state, cost, and compliance information, plus sourcing information. The physical characteristics of the part, length, thread designation, grip length, are all available for comparison as well. Once I make my choice, I can further review all the information related to this part. Note the classification attributes are available. Now that I'm satisfied this part is what I need, I will copy it to my clipboard, which I can then easily paste into a bill of materials or use directly inside of Creo. Parts can be classified in bulk via a spreadsheet or by an administrator with a script, or during part creation as I am doing now. As I fill out the required metadata for this 1/4 inch diameter, 3 inch long hex head bolt, note there is a classification attribute. The value of this attribute is chosen from a tree of classification nodes. The choice I make here will determine what additional attributes this part will inherit. This addition of a common set of attributes enables the catalog part search I performed earlier. Once classified, I need to add the values for these newly introduced attributes. These attributes can in turn have constraints. They can be required, immutable, or have a legal value list applied to them. Once I finish entering the data for this now classified part, it can be automatically added to the catalog for reuse. A quick review of the part details show that the attributes that define a hex head bolt are applied to the part. How was this catalog created? PDM-Link allows you to delegate this administrative task to the right individuals who can then design or import the right schema or part taxonomy appropriate for the enterprise. As I navigate the nodes in the classification structure, you will see properties such as keywords, descriptions, and images that you should recall when I found the bolt earlier in the Classification Explorer. Note the list of attributes are the same ones I used in the virtual catalog during my search. This lightweight attribution mechanism is how parts are classified with a common attribute set. During classification of a part, selection of a node in this classification hierarchy determines which attributes are added to a part's metadata. If a part needs to be reclassified, then simply changing the part classification attribute, which points to a different node in the schema, adds a different set of attributes to the part. Another aspect of PTC's component and supplier management solution is the ability to capture information about your suppliers and the parts they supply to your enterprise. As I choose a supplier from the list, you can see contact information and related documentation. Additional attributes can be added to these supplier representations to further qualify or disqualify suppliers for your enterprise. I can also see the list of parts that I use from this supplier. I can get detailed information about manufacturer parts and can see all the products where a manufacturer part is used. This manufacturer part happens to be on the approved manufacturer list of the original bolt I searched for in the virtual catalog. This list shows me the part preferences and sources of supply from various manufacturers and vendors. This list makes it easy to manage all the different part identifiers that OEMs, manufacturers, and vendors use. Additionally, ranked sourcing preferences can be applied to these supplier parts. Preferences can be adjusted as supplier status changes. For example, if there's an obsolescence or counterfeit issue, I can easily find the part in question, perform an impact analysis, and flag a particular supplied part as do not use. Sourcing contexts can present a different set of supplier part lists. An example of a sourcing context would be to account for different suppliers of parts that are used in a plant that is located in a different geographical area. Returning to the original bolt I found, I can investigate this part's where used report. I see it is used in many different product structures, including this dual joystick control station. A look at the bill of materials for this assembly shows the bolt at the bottom of the list on the product structure, and the occurrences of the bolt are highlighted in the actual assembly on the right. Furthermore, in the context of the bill of material, I can see those classification attributes, sourcing preferences, and AML/AVL lists. There are many sourcing reports available that can be generated for this bill of material to assist in procurement of the components that make up this product. For example, you can run a report that identifies those sourced parts that have a single source of supply, which could pose a risk to the product's schedule. This product structure browser is a powerful way to fully understand your product's bill of material from a variety of perspectives. In order to control how certain parts are created and what data needs to be associated to a new part in your data management system, we have a new part introduction process that can assist in developing fully qualified, sourced, reusable parts. This process can help reduce the amount of duplicate parts that may get into your product lifecycle management system. Users can create a new part request that is developed and matured by a configurable workflow that in the end yields fully qualified sourced parts. Users simply fill out a form with information about the part needed. As the part request is developed by a defined part request team, you can see the types of activities that are needed to define and source the needed part. In the case of this electrical part request, sources of supply need to be identified, material content declaration is required, and symbol and footprint information has to be defined. Through the use of component and supplier management, a rationalized set of parts and suppliers can reduce your part spend and inventory levels. Your design and engineering staff will spend less time searching for parts, which will increase engineering productivity. You can learn more about PTC's component and supplier management solution by visiting us at ptc.com. There you can speak with a specialist and schedule an in-depth demonstration. Thank you for your time today.